Hello all, this is Queenie Lume. Welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be my 6-month update of my DIY Microlocs installation. Along with my 6-month update, I'm also going to do an in-depth Q&A. So I'm going to answer all of those questions that you guys left in my DMs, in the comment section, on my Instagram page. So thank you so much for leaving those. I'm really excited to answer them. So for this video, rather than going through all of the same exact topics that I usually go through for my monthly updates, I'm only going to talk about what has changed since my 5-month update. So if you're interested in seeing me talking about my lint, my frizziness, all of that, just go back to my 5-month update, and much of that hasn't changed except for whatever I talk about in the video right now. So let's launch right into my 6-month update. So firstly, one of the things that has changed since my 5-month update, I think you might be able to tell that it's a little bit more shrunken, and in general, it's gained more volume sideways. So that's something that has changed, but that's something that's continually changing. Secondly, I think that there are more follicles noticeable at the front of my hairline. So that's what those little white spots are. And then thirdly, since my 5-month update, I actually went to my first ever professional loctician for one of my reties. So what you see right now is my hair approximately 3 weeks after my first professional loctician experience slash retie. So I'm really impressed by it. Like, it is so crispy even after 3 weeks. It's amazing. So that's why my edges look a little bit more cleaned up, is because I went to a professional loctician and she cleaned up my edges for me, which was awesome. So other than that, nothing else has really changed since my 5-month update. So if you're interested in like hearing the whole shebang about what's going on with my hair, I would suggest you go back to my 5-month update. So I'll put a link for my 5-month update in the description box below. So now we're gonna do a really quick 360, and then we're gonna launch into those Q&A questions.
If I could take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Life could be a dream. And I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we meet again. Oh, life. And I ding dong, lang, 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 boom, boom. Take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we'll meet again. Oh, life could be a dream, shaboom, and I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
So that was the quick 360. Now let's begin that Q&A. So I'm gonna be looking down at my phone because I took screenshots of all of your amazing questions. So let's just start. And before we start, if I butcher anyone's name, please forgive me. So Toth L asks, how do you keep your scalp healthy? So for those of you that have been following me since the beginning, you know that I really don't do much other than wash my hair. I did test out Candy Sweet Beauty's hair products and I like them, but I've only used her hair scalp oil twice because in general I found that I have a lot of buildup on my scalp. Just from everyday life, and that's just how my scalp is naturally. So what I do and what I think is best for my scalp is just that I make sure that I use the pads of my fingers to clarify my scalp while I'm washing my hair in the shower. Sista Fuego asks, are you doing other maintenance besides retie, like frizz management? No, I'm not doing any type of frizz management. This is what my hair looks like. I haven't been doing anything to it. I don't really think it looks frizzy at all. And I think that's because of the general tightness of my hair. When it gets wet, it doesn't really have a very loose curl pattern. It's about as tight as each individual lock is, so it just tightens up. I will say that some of the maintenance I've been doing, and you can kind of see it, is that if I notice that some of the ends look like they've been undone to about this much, I'll just relock my locks from the end. So if you see a couple stragglers, like these two ones right here that are super like skinny and long, that's because I just like randomly redid them. So that's really the only maintenance I've been doing. I just use my fingers for that. Nija PNP Journey asks, what are the cons of sister locks? So just to clarify, these are not sister locks. These are DIY Microlocs because I installed these on my head on my own, and I did not take any type of sister lock certification class. So I can't really speak to the cons of sister locks, but in the way that sister locks and DIY Microlocs and the hairstyle that I have on my head are similar, I'll say that some of the cons are that the install can take a protracted amount of time, like a couple days if you're going to professional. So you'll be going to their salon multiple days in a row, and you'll be going there for probably like 20 to 30 hours. If you do this yourself, it took me between 140 and 160 hours to install this hairstyle on my own, on my head. So that's a pretty long length of time. Now, if you're going to get your hair installed by a professional, whether that's Microlocs or sister locks, the price can be somewhat exorbitant for a lot of people. So that can be a con. But other than that, I think that the pros of this hairstyle much outweigh the cons. And that's why I did this, because it really just fit my lifestyle so much better than my natural loose hair. McIntyre Maddie asks, best maintenance tips? So my best maintenance tips would be just make sure that you're avoiding cotton. When you're sleeping, make sure that you're not rubbing up against cotton. I have a silk pillowcase that I bought on Amazon for like $22. I'll put a link for that in the description box below. I love that because I really don't like wearing a scarf or a bonnet on my head because my head gets really hot. So instead, I just use a silk pillowcase, and that has been awesome. And as you can see, I haven't really had any problems with frizz. Also, I don't really have problems with lint. So let's just see, because I usually throw my hair up in some kind of loose bun when I sleep so it's out of my face. I don't really have much lint to speak of. Other than that, I would say make sure you always braid and band your hair before you wash. McIntyre Maddie asks, have you noticed any that you may have done too small, and how did you remedy it? So there are 6 locks on my head that I want to combine, but I haven't combined them yet because I'd rather wait until they mature fully. So as of yet, I haven't combined any locks. My Noble Locks asks, do you think you will undo your hair in the future? No. No intention, no reason. I love my hair like this. Hello Homestead asks, hey girl, how you doing? Hello Homestead asks, I've got one. Talk about frizz and washing in between reties. I don't really have any frizz, not much. If I ever do, it's when I had a halo around my head. But I think there's a lot less of like a frizz halo around my head that I noticed ever since the professional loctician did my hair, because I think she was able to fix up my grid and pull the hairs that needed to be pulled into the right locks. So she really helped with that. So I don't really have much of that. And then washing between reties, I wash once every 1 or 2 weeks. Now that it's the summer, I've been going to like a lot of lakes and rivers, like any place that we can find that's underpopulated, because we are in the middle of a pandemic still. And I make sure that as soon as I come back from whatever like outside water adventure we've done, I wash my hair the exact same way I always do. So I usually go on the water adventure with my hair in like individual braids, and then I come back and I immediately wash my hair. So that's about basically once a week. So Lock Queen B asks, how do you feel about the size of your locks and the number of locks you have? I have had a little bit of lock envy for the people with the slightly thicker locks. I think that I would have made them slightly larger in the front, maybe, but then again, I really like the way that it looks. I like the fullness. I like the way that it looks in the back. I just really like my hair. So other than the fact that it takes me longer than I wish it does to retighten my own hair, no, I don't really have anything I would change with the size or the way I've been keeping them up. I did go to a professional loctician recently, like I mentioned earlier, and it didn't take longer than I thought it would take. It took just as long as I thought it would take, but I could tell she was a little stressed out when she got to the front and she saw how many there were. She's like, oh, how many locks did you say you have again? 668? And she's like, okay, let's do this. Regarding the number of locks that I have, I like the number of locks that I have because I think that that's what contributes to the fullness that you see. So I'm pretty happy with the number now, and I'm excited to see how they mature. Talia Glenn asks, can you please explain how you correct bunching? Thank you. I'm really excited to talk about this because when I went to the professional loctician, she told me whether what was going on in the back was bunching or budding. So I'm gonna find a couple back here so I can show you. So this one here, that's a good example of what me and the loctician talked about. So it turns out that this is budding, not bunching, which I'm super, super happy about. And let me see if I can find another one. So on the other side, the budding is happening in the same place, which right now is like in the back in the lower part. So that is also budding, she said. And she said that most of my locks are actually locking and that this is a good sign and I should just leave it alone. And that that's just my lock maturing into its final lock state. So that was awesome. And my point just being that I haven't actually had bunching happening to my hair, so I don't really know if I'm the best person to give you advice on how to correct bunching. But there are lots of videos on YouTube on how to correct bunching in Microlocs, so I would suggest you go look those up. Olarato Makone asks, still need to braid and band at 6 months? Yes, 100%. I would suggest that if you were on this lock journey, you should 100% braid and band until your hair is fully locked because you don't want any bunching or slippage to happen. Especially when you start your locks on very long hair, the longer your hair is, the more prone your hair is to bunching and slippage. And when your hair is exposed to water, that's when the bunching and the slippage is most likely to occur. So braid and band always, especially in the first 6 months, especially in the first year. Also, yay, Bindi J Mark, or her name's Bindi Mark now, she said that what was going on in my last video was budding. So yeah, so it's 2 places that have confirmed that what's going on in the back of my hair is budding. Brittany Elise asks, congrats on making 6 months. What's one thing that surprised you about your lock journey? One thing that surprised me about my lock journey is how much I like my grid, because I've already tried to do like multiple other cornrows, you know, when I'm going to the beach or something, and I like how clean it looks. It Was a Tuesday asks, is there a disadvantage to using moisturizer? When you get Microlocs installed, I've heard for the suggestions from people who talk about their sister locks on YouTube, you're supposed to avoid using products if you can. And I think that's for multiple reasons. One, the more products that you have in your hair, the more lint and environmental fibers and whatever's in the air and around you is going to stick in your hair. You can get like a lock smell, like a funk, kind of that mildewy scent. The more product you have in your hair, it can pull it into the matrix of the lock, and then you'll have mildew, which sure, that happens with locks, that happens with hair, but if you can prevent it, that is the goal. Products add slippage. They make it so that it's easier for your hair to comb, but you don't necessarily want that when you're trying to get your locks to mature. You want them to be as dry as possible so that hair can get knotted up. The drier your hair, the more helpful that is with the locking process. Tailored Naturally asked something that has nothing to do with my locks, but it has to do with my camera. So I've never talked about this before, so I thought, why not? Might as well share. Tailored Naturally asks, I've just started my channel and I love the quality of your videos. Just wondering, what camera and microphone do you use? So I use the Canon EOS Rebel T7i. I'll put a link for it in the description box below. I also use 3 Mount Dog lights, and I think that those are really, really important. Your lighting, it's almost as important as the type of camera that you use. So I use 3 Mount Dog lights, and I'll put a link for the kit that I got in the description box below. That's super useful. And I also use a ring light that I put directly in front of me by UBZ. I also use this lav mic that I pin on my shirt. So I use a Boya lav mic. Other than that, when I shoot in my bathroom, I use my iPhone 8. So I'll put links for all of the equipment that I use in this video and all of my other videos in the description box below. Latoya Lofton1 asks, what's the best way to take care of your locks while working out? So I would say just make sure your hair is in some stretch style. So I usually put it into cornrows down the sides. Just make sure you get all your locks, don't leave any out. And then I just wait for my hair to dry 1 or 2 hours after exercising, and then I take them out and I just let them do their thing. Just Moza asks, curious if you've experienced your ends tangling in the infant stage of your locks. No, I haven't really experienced my ends tangling at all. I can easily run my fingers through my ends. Smiles and Poses asks, are you keeping your ends loose and curly? If so, how are you going to maintain that? It's not my intention to keep my ends loose and curly. I want my hair to lock from root to tip. That's my goal. So I'm not gonna try to maintain my curly ends. But these are the ends of my hair right now. So they're definitely not locked. Sometimes I'll find some that are and I'm like, yay. But the ones in the back are definitely less loose than the ones in the front. But yeah, it's not my intention to keep my ends loose. I would like if they locked all the way up. I'm gonna do me asks, how do you reduce frizz in your crown front of your hair? I have short hairs that won't stay in my locks. So I would say just don't mess around with them. Wait until you get to your RETI stage so that you can prevent those little hairs from breaking, because that was a problem that I had. My hair in the front is very soft and very prone to breakage. So it breaks off a lot and very easily, especially if I'm constantly touching it and constantly trying to correct it. So what I did between the RETI before I went to the loctician and seeing the loctician was I just let it go. If they wanted to fall out, those locks in the front, I just let them fall out and I didn't touch them, so that when I got to that loctician appointment, she had enough just like basically virgin loose hair that she could put into a lock. And now it's been 3 weeks and they haven't popped out, and I'm very happy with that. They were slipping out like 2 to 3 days after I had done them, but now I think they're at a length where they are long enough that they're finally staying in. And she actually did this one thing called chain linking. Let me see if I can find them. So this one right here habitually falls out, but it hasn't since she like linked it into the root bed of this one. And she said that they won't grow together, but as your hair grows out, it should slip out, like the tail of this one. So that's another way that you can prevent the locks at the edges from slipping out. Moquete Bopape asks, do your locks catch blankets? I don't think my locks catch blankets now because I have been very careful about making sure that my hairs don't touch blankets. But I'm sure that they would if I had blanket all up in my head. But I don't, since I just use that silk pillowcase. Baby Dolls Art asks, how many microlocs would you recommend for 4B, 4C hair? I have 332 and I don't want mine to overswell. Without seeing your head, I can't tell you much. Also, without seeing your actual texture, I can't say much. And then on top of that, it's not just about the texture of your hair, it's also about the size of your head. Now, if you got them professionally installed by a loctician, I'd say just trust your loctician. She probably knows what she's doing because you're not the only person she's probably locked. But if you're doing it yourself, I would really recommend that you go to my grid video because I explain a lot of information on how to start your own locks and what you should take into consideration there, especially when it comes to your sizing. So I'll put the links for my 2 grid videos in the description box below. Courtney Donaldson asks, have you noticed any length change in the 6-month mark versus the 1-month growth mark? So no, I would say that my hair actually looks shorter than it did at 1 month. And I'll put a comparison here. So yeah, no, my hair's still in the shrinking stage, so I don't really see any length retention yet, or length increase. Okay, so that's the last question that I'm gonna answer in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, as always, put those in the description box below and I'll try to get to them in my next video. If you like this video, make sure to like below. And if you haven't already had a chance, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see my videos as soon as they're uploaded. Thank you for watching.